Welcome to the monk's moon temple. Please, come in and make yourself comfortable. You can sit, or you can lie down. There's no need to hold yourself in any particular way. Just let go. Let the sound of this voice be an anchor, a gentle point of focus in the vast ocean of your thoughts. For 35 years, I have sat with the human mind in silence. I have witnessed its incredible creativity, its profound sorrow, its restless searching. And the most important lesson from all those years of watching is this: you are not what you think. The thoughts and feelings that rush through you are like weather patterns moving across a vast, open, and silent sky. The sky does not cling to the sunshine, it does not protest the storm. It simply provides the space for all of it to be. Your deepest, truest nature is that sky. This is not a philosophy I invented. It is the core insight of a man who sat down under a tree 2,500 years ago and vowed not to rise until he understood the root of suffering. He understood, and we have called him the Buddha ever since, the awakened one. What he awakened to was not a set of beliefs, but a practical science of the mind. A science of freedom. We live in a world that teaches us to be sculptors, constantly chiseling away at the raw material of our lives, trying to create a perfect statue called my success, my happiness, my perfect self. We are told the statue is out there, just a few more blows of the chisel away. But the chisel never stops. There is always another flaw to fix, another feature to refine. We become exhausted artists, surrounded by dust, never able to see the beauty of the uncarved stone right before us. The simple, aware presence that we already are. This relentless sculpting is the source of our shared hidden epidemic, a feeling of fundamental lack, a quiet voice that whispers, not yet, not good enough, something is missing. We try to answer it with achievements, relationships, possessions, but the whisper remains, because we are mistaking the noise of the chisel for the path to peace. Let me begin with a story. This is not from ancient texts, but from last month. I was in a vast, busy train station, a cathedral of rushing. Everyone was a portrait of purpose, eyes forward, strides long, connected to unseen networks through devices in their palms. In the middle of this river of haste, an elderly man was trying to buy a ticket from a new, automated machine. He was confused. His hands trembled slightly. The person behind him, a young woman in a sharp suit, let out an audible, frustrated sigh. She tapped her foot, looked at her watch, her body vibrating with impatience. She was not a cruel person. She was simply a prisoner of the modern trance, the trance of next. Her next was being obstructed, and her whole world contracted into a knot of irritation. She saw the man not as a fellow human being, but as an obstacle in the narrative of her day. I watched as a station guard, moving with a different rhythm, noticed the scene. He walked over, put a gentle hand on the old man's shoulder, and said, "Let me help you with that, sir." He slowly, patiently explained the screen. The man's anxiety melted, replaced by a grateful smile. The young woman, witnessing this small act of decency, seemed to startle out of her trance. Her shoulders dropped. The harsh line of her mouth softened. She looked embarrassed. And then, she did nothing. She just waited, quietly, now present. That moment was a tiny scripture. It contained the entire teaching. The suffering, the young woman's stress, the old man's anxiety, was born from dislocation, from being lost in thought about what should be happening instead of being with what was happening. The guard's compassion was born from presence. He was not fighting reality, he was working with it. This is the pivot. Our depression, our anxiety, they are not always signs of a chemical imbalance first. They are often the logical, aching result of a life lived in resistance to the present moment. We are at war with what is, and we are losing because the enemy is reality itself. If this story of the train station echoes in your own life, if you recognize those moments of being lost in the frustrating narrative, missing the human being in front of you, then you have already taken the first step. You are aware of the trance. Consider subscribing to the Monk's Moon Temple. By subscribing, you are not just adding another channel, you are choosing to cultivate a space of remembrance in your daily life. You are supporting a sanctuary of pause in a world of go. For those of you who already have, your presence is the very foundation of this temple. Thank you. Now, let's go deeper. The Buddha's first and most famous teaching is about this very suffering, this dislocation. He called it dukkha. It is the subtle ache of a wheel that is slightly off its axle. Everything still turns, but there is friction, a grating sense that things are not quite right. We feel it in our constant planning and worrying, in our nostalgia for a past that never was as perfect as we remember, in our anxiety about a future we cannot control. We are time travelers, and we are terrible at it. We miss our own lives in the process. So, what is the cause of this dukkha? The Buddha pointed to a very specific, powerful force, tanha. Thirst. Craving. The endless wanting mind. Now, we must understand this clearly. Desire itself is not the enemy. Desire for food when you are hungry is intelligence. Desire to connect, to create, to learn, these are beautiful energies. Tanha is the distorted shadow of desire. It is the addictive quality, the insistence that says, I must have this for me to be okay. I cannot be happy without that. It is desire that has fused with your identity. It is the belief that the next thing, the next promotion, the next compliment, the next purchase, the next vacation, will finally plug the hole of lack that you feel inside. But here is the secret the Buddha uncovered: the hole can never be plugged by anything external, because the hole itself is an illusion. It is a shadow cast by a mistaken belief. The belief that you are the statue, incomplete, rather than the aware space in which the entire sculpture is appearing. I learned about this not in a sacred text, but in a garden. Years ago, I was responsible for a small vegetable patch at the monastery. I became obsessed with growing the perfect tomato. I read books, I adjusted the soil, I fretted over water and sun. I would check the plants multiple times a day, my happiness rising and falling with their progress. When the first tomatoes appeared, I was elated. But they were small, a bit green. My joy turned to planning. Next year, I'll use a different fertilizer. Next year, they'll be perfect. I harvested the tomatoes. They were fine, tasty even. But the experience was underwhelming. The chase had been more exciting than the catch. One afternoon, my teacher saw me staring at the patch, already planning for next season. He picked up a handful of soil, rich and dark, and let it sift through his fingers. You are hungry for a tomato, he said, but you are starving for the earth. He was pointing to my tanha. I was so fixated on the object of my desire, the perfect red fruit, that I was missing the miracle of the process, the sun, the rain, the soil, the very mystery of life pushing a green shoot toward the light. I was missing the present reality for a fantasy of a future tomato. My suffering was not caused by the imperfect tomato, it was caused by my craving for a perfect one. When I finally saw this, the entire garden changed. Weeding became a meditation. Watering became a ritual. The taste of the next season's still imperfect tomatoes was the most profound and satisfying I had ever experienced, because I was finally there, tasting them, not comparing them to an idea in my head. This is the shift. From craving the object to engaging with the process. From being a consumer of life to a participant in it. Your work, your relationships, your art, they all transform when you do them for their own sake, not for the trophy of completion you believe they will give you. The purpose is in the engagement, not in the trophy cabinet. But how do we make this shift? How do we go from being puppets jerked around by the strings of craving and aversion to finding that stable, open space within? This brings us to the heart of the science, meditation. And here, we must immediately dispel the most common and damaging myth. Meditation is not about stopping your thoughts. It is not about achieving a blank, empty mind. Trying to stop thought is like trying to smooth the waves in the ocean with a flat iron. It is impossible, and the effort will exhaust and frustrate you. I know, because I tried. For my first year, I sat on my cushion like a guard at a prison, shouting at my thoughts to be quiet. Silence. Be still. The result was an inner riot. I thought I was a failure. I hated meditation. I thought my mind was broken. The breakthrough came when I finally understood the instruction. My teacher said, "You are not a guard. You are a mountain. And your thoughts and feelings are merely the weather." Does the mountain get upset when clouds pass? Does it celebrate when the sun shines? It just sits, vast and unmoving, providing a home for all seasons. Meditation is the practice of discovering you are the mountain, not the weather. The technique is beautifully, elegantly simple. You sit comfortably. You bring your attention to the direct physical sensation of the breath. You feel the cool air entering the nostrils, the slight pause, the warm air leaving. You are not controlling it. You are simply noticing it, like a curious child watching a ladybug crawl on a leaf. And then, inevitably, you will forget. You will be swept away into a thought, a memory, a plan, a daydream, a worry. This is not a mistake. This is the magic moment. This is the entire practice. The old habit is to judge, "Oh no, I'm thinking. I failed." The new practice is to notice with gentle interest, "Ah. Thinking has happened." And with that same gentle curiosity, you guide your attention back to the next breath. Not with force, but with kindness, as if you were guiding a beloved but distracted child back to a path. This simple act of noticing you are lost and choosing to return, this is where your freedom is forged. Every single time you do this, you are performing a radical act. You are proving to yourself that you are not enslaved to the next thought. You have a choice. You are building what I call your attention muscle. In that moment of return, you are the sky remembering it is vast enough to hold the cloud. You are the mountain remembering it is solid beneath the passing storm. Let's stay with this practice for a moment, because its simplicity is deceptive. Each time you notice your mind has wandered and you gently bring it back, you are not just calming yourself. You are performing neurosurgery on your own brain. You are weakening the deep, well-worn ruts of automatic, reactive thought and carving new pathways of conscious choice. Modern science can show you the images. The amygdala, the brain's alarm bell, grows quieter. The prefrontal cortex, associated with awareness and choice, grows thicker. You are not just thinking about change. You are physically architecting it, synapse by synapse. This is why Buddhism is a science. Its hypotheses, that suffering is born from craving, that freedom is found in present moment awareness, are testable. You can run the experiment. Sit for 10 minutes. Watch the mind. Practice the return. See if your relationship to a later frustration is slightly different. The laboratory is your own lived experience. But the mind is clever. It will co-opt even this practice. It will turn meditation into another project, another statue to carve. You will sit and think, am I doing it right? Is this working? I should be feeling more peaceful. This is the wanting mind, sneaking in the back door. I fell into this trap for years. I was a meditation athlete, striving for longer sessions, deeper states, special experiences. I was chasing the wow moments. My teacher saw my striving. One day he said, "You are like a man drilling for oil. You drill and drill, waiting for the big gusher. You miss the fact that the ground beneath your feet is already soaked with a fine, nourishing rain." He meant I was looking for a dramatic, permanent enlightenment, missing the tiny, momentary awakenings happening all the time, the conscious breath, the noticed irritation, the moment of pure listening. The goal of meditation is not a special state. The goal is to become intimate with all states, the boring, the agitated, the peaceful, the sad. With equal, gentle awareness. This intimacy is how we begin to work with our deeper wounds, the stories we carry that feel like our very identity. We often believe that to heal, we must solve the story. We must go back into the past, analyze the trauma, find the villain, correct the mistake. There is a place for understanding. But liberation often lies in a different direction. It lies in changing your relationship to the story itself. I once spent time with a war veteran. He was haunted, not just by memories, but by a pervasive identity. I am damaged. I am broken by what I saw. He was trapped in a loop of guilt and horror. We talked, but words were a cage. I asked him if he would be willing to try something different. I asked him to close his eyes and, instead of running the movie of his worst memory, to simply locate where he felt it in his body now. He pointed to his solar plexus, a hard, hot knot. "Good," I said. "Now, for just 1 minute, forget the war. Forget the story. Your only job is to send your breath, your awareness, directly into that knot. Don't try to melt it. Just be with it, like you would sit with a frightened animal in the woods. No sudden moves. Just presence." He was quiet. Tears rolled down his cheeks. After a minute, he opened his eyes. "It's still there," he said, "but it's not all of me. There's a part of me watching it that isn't knotted up." He had, for a flickering instant, found the sky that held the storm. The traumatic memory hadn't vanished. But he had touched the part of him that was bigger than the trauma. That part, the aware, compassionate witness, is the healer. Therapy can help reorganize the furniture of your past. Meditation helps you discover the vast room in which all that furniture sits. This points to another core Buddhist principle, anatta, often translated as no self. This frightens people. It sounds like you are being asked to become a nobody, a void. That is not it at all. Anatta is the most liberating discovery you can make. It is the realization that what you call me is not a solid, fixed, separate thing. It is a flowing process. A collection of sensations, perceptions, memories, and thoughts, all dependent on causes and conditions. You are a verb, not a noun. You are a happening. Think of a river. You can point to it and say, that is the Mississippi River. But is it? The water in it is never the same from one moment to the next. The banks shift. Is it the same river it was 100 years ago? The name Mississippi is a useful convention, a label for an ever-changing flow. Your self is like that. The you of 10 years ago is gone. The you of tomorrow is not here. There is only this ever-changing flow of experience in the present. When you see this, you are freed from the heavy burden of a solid, fragile identity that must be constantly defended and improved. You are freed from the thought, I am a failure, because you see that failure is just a passing weather pattern in the sky of your awareness. It comes, and it will go. You are the space for it, not the thing itself. A story from my own life illustrates this. For many years, I had a crippling fear of public speaking. The very idea would conjure a solid, terrifying self. I am Jerome the anxious speaker. I am the one who stammers and turns red. This self felt as real and solid as this desk. I avoided any situation that might trigger it. Then, during a long retreat, this fear arose with ferocious intensity, with no escape. I had to sit with it. I used the meditation, feeling the panic in my body, the racing heart, the tight throat, and simply breathing into those sensations, letting them be, without buying the story, I am afraid. I watched the fear as a pattern of energy, not as my identity. After days of this, something shifted. The solid statue of Jerome the Fearful began to seem insubstantial. Like a ghost. When I next had to speak to a small group, the physical sensations arose again. But this time, there was a new, quiet knowledge underneath. These are sensations. This is not who I am. I spoke. My voice shook a little. But I was not owned by the shaking. The identity had softened into an experience. I was not a fearful person, I was a person experiencing fear in that moment. The difference is everything. This is the power of anatta. It does not destroy you, it releases you from a cramped, false version of yourself. It allows you to be fluid, adaptable, compassionate with your own humanity. You are no longer defending a fortress, you are dancing in an open field. But to dance in the open field, we must deal with the fences we've built, often from pain. We must speak of forgiveness. In our culture, forgiveness is often seen as a gift you give to the person who wronged you, a moral obligation. From the Buddhist perspective, forgiveness is a strategic necessity for your own peace. It is not about saying what happened was okay. It is about realizing that holding on to resentment is like gripping a burning coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. I knew a woman whose father had been emotionally absent and critical throughout her childhood. She carried this as a cold stone of resentment in her heart. It colored all her relationships with men. She believed her anger was a justified monument to his failure. In a sense, she was right. But the monument was in her own living room, blocking the light. I asked her to try a simple contemplation. Imagine, I said, that your father is sitting in front of you, not as the villain of your story, but as a man. See him as a child. What might he have experienced that made him so closed, so critical? See not his actions, but the suffering that likely drove those actions. She resisted. It felt like letting him off the hook. But she tried. Days later, she reported a shift. I suddenly thought of my grandfather, she said. He was a harsh, cold man. My father was just, passing on what he knew. He wasn't a monster, he was a link in a chain of pain. I don't excuse it, but seeing that, the stone in my heart got a little lighter. I felt sad for the chain, not just for me. She began to forgive not the actions, but the confused human being behind them. She did this not for him, but to set down the burning coal she'd been carrying for 30 years. Forgiveness, in this sense, is the ultimate act of self-care. It is declaring that your inner peace is more important than your outer story of justice. Let's turn now to a force that shapes so much of our modern discontent, the pursuit of purpose. We have been cast adrift from the old, communal stories that once gave people a defined place in the cosmos. Now, the question, what is my purpose, lands on the individual like a mandate to create a masterpiece of a life. We conflate purpose with achievement, with legacy, with something grand and external that will finally make us feel significant. This search itself can become a source of immense suffering, another form of tanha, the craving for a meaningful identity. I witnessed this in a brilliant young man who came to the temple on retreat. He was a successful software engineer, but he felt empty. I build things that help people shop faster or scroll longer, he said. It feels trivial. I want my life to mean something. I think I should quit and start a non-profit, or go into medicine. He was ready to upheave his life in pursuit of a purpose with a capital P. I asked him, in your current work, in the meetings, the coding, the problem solving, are you ever fully there? Or are you always thinking about the more meaningful thing you should be doing? He admitted he was almost never present, his mind was in the future, in the fantasy of his meaningful life. This is the great misunderstanding. We think purpose is a destination, a job title, a heroic role. From the Buddhist perspective, purpose is a quality of attention, not a job description. Your purpose is to be awake, to be compassionate, to be present. A doctor's purpose is not merely to cure disease, but to bring presence and compassion to the bedside. A teacher's purpose is not just to transmit information, but to awaken curiosity. A parent's purpose is not to produce a perfect adult, but to offer unconditional, mindful love. When purpose becomes a verb, an activity of being, then any action, no matter how small, can be an expression of it. You don't find purpose. You bring purposeful awareness to what is already in front of you. I shared with the young engineer a story about a street sweeper I used to see every morning in a city where I taught. He was an older man, and he swept with an almost artistic care. He didn't rush. He paid attention to the corners, the gutters. There was a dignity in his movement. One rainy morning, I stopped and said, "You take great care with your work." He looked up, smiled, and said, "This is my block. I keep it clean for the people who live here. The kids shouldn't have to walk through litter." He wasn't waiting for a more meaningful job. He had infused his simple task with purpose, care for his community. He was present, and in that presence, his work was meaningful. The engineer listened. He decided not to quit his job immediately. Instead, he committed to a simple practice. For one meeting a day, he would practice deep listening. For 1 hour of coding, he would strive for complete, mindful focus on the problem itself, not the fantasy of a future self. He reported back weeks later, the work didn't change, but my experience of it did. I found I could bring care to how I wrote my code, to how I collaborated. It started to feel worthwhile. He discovered that purpose isn't something you chase, it's a light you carry, and you can shine it anywhere. This shift from external pursuit to internal cultivation is the heart of the path. It requires us to confront another universal experience, fear. Our world runs on fear. It is the engine of the news cycle, of much advertising, of political rhetoric. Be afraid of what you lack, be afraid of the other, be afraid of missing out, be afraid of failing. We are immersed in a low-grade bath of anxiety, and we wonder why we can't relax. Buddhism does not teach the absence of fear. That would be foolish. Fear is a vital, intelligent signal. It tells us to pay attention. The problem is fusion. We become the fear. The thought, I might fail, arises, and we instantly become the failure, contracting our entire world around that possibility. The practice is to create space between the signal and our identification with it. To feel the racing heart, the tight stomach, and to say internally, ah. This is the sensation of fear. To breathe into the tightness. To become the mountain observing the storm of anxiety, rather than being the tree ripped up by its roots. I had to learn this in a very physical way. I have always had a deep fear of deep water. As a child, I nearly drowned, and the panic of that moment stayed in my cells. As an adult, even being on a boat made me uneasy. A fellow monk, a kind and perceptive man, noticed this. He didn't counsel me to overcome it or tell me it was irrational. He simply said, the water isn't your enemy. Your relationship to the sensation of panic is. He guided me to a small, quiet lake. He had me sit on the end of a dock, just my feet in the water. Feel the fear, he said. Locate it. Is it in your chest? Your throat? Just feel the physical shape of it. Don't tell yourself the story of drowning. Just feel the what of it. I did. It was a hard, cold ball in my solar plexus. Now, he said, breathe directly into that ball. Imagine your breath softening its edges, just a little. You're not trying to make it go away. You're just getting to know it. I did this for many days, just sitting on the dock. The fear didn't vanish, but my relationship to it changed. It went from being a monster that controlled me to being a familiar, if uncomfortable, sensation that I could sit with. Eventually, I could put my legs in the water. Then my waist. I never became a fearless swimmer, but I was no longer a prisoner of the panic. I had made the fear a companion, not a master. This is the practice for all fears, of failure, of rejection, of the unknown. You don't conquer them by brute force, you befriend them with gentle, persistent awareness. This ability to be with discomfort is the key to resilience. It transforms how we experience pain, both physical and emotional. We are a culture obsessed with comfort. We seek the perfect ergonomic chair, the perfect temperature, the perfect diet, the perfect mindset, all to avoid the slightest grating of discomfort. But life is, by its nature, grating. Bodies age and ache. Hearts break. Plans fail. Our attempt to wall ourselves off from discomfort only makes us more fragile, more shocked and betrayed when it inevitably arrives. The Buddhist approach is one of inclusion. It is to develop a capacity of heart and mind so vast that it can hold discomfort without being shattered by it. It is to learn the art of saying, "This too. This pain is here. This sadness is here. Let me feel it fully, without adding a layer of resistance on top." The resistance, "this shouldn't be happening," is the secondary layer of suffering. The raw pain of a loss is the first arrow. Our rage, our denial, our bitter story about the unfairness of it all, those are the second, third, and fourth arrows we shoot into our own hearts. A woman came to me whose husband had left her suddenly after decades of marriage. She was devastated, but even more than her grief, she was consumed by a white-hot rage. How could he do this? After all I did. My whole life was a lie. She was in agony, but it was the agony of the second arrows. I asked her if, for just 5 minutes a day, she could set aside the story of betrayal and just be with the pure, physical sensation of the heartbreak. Go into the sadness, I said, not the anger about the sadness. She agreed to try. She reported that it was excruciating, like touching an open nerve. But she also said something profound: when I'm in the raw sadness, it's just a deep, dark ache. It's terrible, but it's clean. It's when I start thinking about him that it turns into a fire that burns me up. She had begun to distinguish between the pain and her relationship to the pain. By turning towards the clean ache with compassion, she began, slowly, to digest the grief rather than being poisoned by the bitterness. She was learning to hold her own broken heart, and in that holding, she discovered a strength she never knew she had. This practice of turning toward discomfort is the essence of compassion, starting with self-compassion. We often think of compassion as something we extend outward, to others who are suffering. But if the well inside us is dry, if we are perpetually harsh, critical, and demanding with ourselves, what do we have to offer anyone else? It will be strained, performative, and quickly exhausted. The Buddha's teachings on compassion are radical because they are utterly democratic. They begin with the being in your own skin. You must learn to be a friend to yourself. For most of my early life, I was my own worst enemy. There was a constant, critical commentary in my mind: that was stupid. You should have done better. Why can't you be like them? You're not trying hard enough. I thought this voice was a motivator, a necessary whip to keep me moving forward. In truth, it was a poison, leaching joy from every accomplishment and magnifying every failure. I carried this internal bully into my early years as a monk. I would sit to meditate, and the voice would say, "You're terrible at this. Look at your mind, like a wild monkey. You'll never get it." My meditation was a battlefield. The transformation began with a simple instruction from my teacher. He said, "You are treating your mind like an disobedient dog you are trying to train with shouts and punishment. Try instead to be like someone who has found a lost, scared, and muddy dog by the side of the road. What do? You don't yell at it. You approach slowly. You speak softly. You might offer a quiet hand. You have kindness for its condition." He was asking me to bring that quality of gentle, non-judgmental kindness to my own chaotic mind. The next time I sat and the critical voice arose, I didn't argue with it or believe it. I just thought, there is the voice of fear again. It's scared. And instead of tension, I felt a wave of sadness for that scared part of me, followed by a wish for it to be at peace. That moment was a crack in the prison wall. I had, for the first time, met my own suffering with something other than more suffering. I had met it with friendliness. This is metta, loving kindness. It is not a gushing sentimentality. It is a steadfast, unconditional friendliness toward your own experience. To cultivate this, there is a beautiful formal practice. You sit quietly and offer phrases of goodwill, first to yourself. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be at ease. May I be happy. You don't have to feel anything special. You are simply planting seeds in the garden of your heart. Then you extend it outward. To a benefactor, a friend, a neutral person, a difficult person, and finally to all beings. This practice systematically dissolves the barriers of separation our mind creates. It reminds us that the wish to be free from suffering is universal. The angry colleague, the frustrating relative, they, too, just want to be happy and free from pain. They are just very, very confused about how to achieve it. Seeing this doesn't mean you become a doormat. It means you stop taking their confusion so personally. Your compassion becomes wise, with boundaries, but without hatred. I saw the power of this in a corporate setting where I was asked to teach. The team was riven with conflict, gossip, and silos. We did a metta practice together. It was awkward at first. Then, I asked them to think of a colleague they found difficult, and silently wish for them, may you be at ease. May you be happy. Afterwards, one executive, a very tough-minded man, was quiet. Later, he pulled me aside. When I thought of my rival in the next department, he said, and wished him to be happy. I had this ridiculous thought. If he were actually happy, he'd probably be a lot less of a jerk to work with. He laughed. It was a small insight, but a tectonic one. He stopped seeing his colleague as a fixed obstacle and saw him as a suffering human being whose behavior might change if his inner condition changed. It didn't solve their corporate politics, but it changed the chemistry of their interactions. He started from a place of slightly less reactivity, and that changed everything. This leads us to another pillar of the path, right livelihood. Buddhism isn't about withdrawing from the world. It's about engaging with it in a way that causes the least harm and the most good. Your work is a huge part of your life. Is it an expression of your values, or a violation of them? This isn't about everyone becoming a social worker. It's about bringing ethical awareness to whatever you do. Can you be honest in your dealings? Can you avoid harming others through your work? Can you use a portion of your resources to help? A financier can practice right livelihood by investing ethically. A grocer can practice it by treating suppliers fairly. A software developer can practice it by considering the societal impact of the algorithms they build. Your vocation becomes a field for practicing integrity, a daily meditation on interconnectedness. I remember a conversation with a restaurant owner. He was successful but stressed, constantly fighting with suppliers over pennies, squeezing his staff, resentful of customers. He felt trapped. I asked him, what was your original joy in food? His eyes softened. I loved feeding my big family. The chaos, the laughter, everyone getting nourished. I suggested, what if, just one day a week, you ran your restaurant as if it were that family table? Not to make the most money, but to provide the most nourishment, to your staff, your suppliers, your customers. Skeptical, he tried it. He paid his staff a bonus that day, sourced ingredients from a local farm he previously considered too expensive, and didn't panic about table turnover. He lost money that day, initially. But the staff morale soared. Customers felt the different energy and returned. The local farm gave him better deals on other days. Within months, his family day was his most profitable and personally fulfilling day. He had aligned his livelihood with his heart. He wasn't just selling food. He was facilitating nourishment. That is right livelihood. Underpinning all of this, the mindfulness, the compassion, the ethics, is the profound Buddhist understanding of emptiness, or sunyata. This is perhaps the most misunderstood concept. Emptiness does not mean nothingness. It means no independent, inherent existence. Everything exists in relationship, dependent on countless causes and conditions. This table is empty of a separate tableness. It is wood, from a tree, sun, soil. Labor, design, tools, the idea of a table. All those elements come together, and we label it table. Your self is the same. You are a magnificent, temporary confluence of elements, earth, water, air, fire from the food you eat, the culture you were born into, the language you speak, the relationships that shaped you. There is no solid, separate, you at the center pulling the levers. There is a flowing, interdependent process. Why is this liberating? Because if nothing is solid and separate, then nothing is fundamentally stuck. Your personality isn't fixed. Your circumstances aren't permanent. The problem that feels monolithic is actually a shifting constellation of parts. Seeing emptiness loosens the glue of our suffering. We take things less personally, the criticism, the praise, the identity. We see the world as a dynamic, interconnected web, and our actions as ripples in that web. This fosters a profound sense of responsibility and a deep, non-sentimental love for the whole fragile, beautiful system. A student of mine, an environmental scientist paralyzed by climate grief and despair, found solace in this view. She saw the planet as a dying patient and herself as an inadequate doctor. I shared the teaching of emptiness and interdependence. The problem is not a solid monster out there, I said. It is the sum of countless causes. Thoughts, choices, systems, technologies. And your solution is not a heroic act you must perform alone. It is your unique point of presence and care in that same web. You cannot fix the whole, but you can be utterly, compassionately present to your small part of it, your research, your advocacy, your lifestyle. That conscious presence is a healing force in the web itself. Her despair didn't vanish, but it morphed into connected, purposeful determination. Her work became her meditation, her act of love for the interdependent whole. Let us now address a silent epidemic that thrives in the soil of our modern world, loneliness. We are more connected digitally than any generation in history, yet we report feeling more isolated. We have hundreds of contacts, but few confidants. We perform our lives on social media, yet hunger for real, unmasked presence. This loneliness is not just a social problem, it is a spiritual crisis. It is the experiential proof of the delusion of separateness. We feel lonely because, on some level, we believe the story that we are alone in here, a separate self looking out at a world of other separate selves. Buddhism offers a radical antidote, the direct realization of interconnectedness, of what Thich Nhat Hanh called interbeing. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is a fact of existence. You cannot draw a clean boundary where you end and the world begins. The air you just breathed was previously in the lungs of others, exhaled by trees. The water in your cells has cycled through oceans, clouds, and rivers for millennia. The thoughts in your mind are in the language you learn from others. You are a walking, talking nexus of the universe. Loneliness is the feeling that arises when we forget this, when we contract into the small, solid story of me. The practice to remedy this is twofold. First, the inner practice of metta, loving kindness, which we discussed, systematically softens the heart's barriers. Second, the practice of deep, mindful listening. We think communication is about speaking, but true connection is born from listening. Not listening to prepare your reply, but listening to understand, to receive the other person's reality into your own awareness. I led a retreat once for couples who were struggling, not with overt conflict, but with a chilling distance that had grown between them. One exercise was simple. Partners took turns speaking for 3 minutes about something that genuinely mattered to them, while the other partner's only job was to listen, without interruption, without facial commentary, without planning a response, and then to repeat back what they heard, not parrot-like, but capturing the essence. The first time was agonizing. People stumbled, corrected each other, got frustrated. But by the third round, a different energy entered the room. Tears began to flow, not tears of sadness, but of relief. One man said, his voice cracking, "I realized I haven't actually heard my wife's voice in years. I've just been hearing my own thoughts about what she's saying." They weren't solving problems, they were re-establishing the foundational experience of being heard, which is the bedrock of being felt. This is how we heal loneliness, by becoming a sanctuary of attention for another. And you can start anywhere, with a barista, a colleague, a child. Offer the gift of true attention. In that space, the illusion of separateness melts, and for a moment, there is just the shared field of conscious experience. This touches on another profound shift, moving from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. Our consumer culture is a masterful engine of scarcity. It tells us we lack the right product, the right body, the right experience, the right level of success. It conditions us to see life as a pie of limited size, where someone else's gain is our loss. This mindset breeds anxiety, envy, and cutthroat competition. The wisdom of interdependence reveals the opposite truth. Reality is a web of mutual nourishment. The bee and the flower are not in competition, they are in a dance of reciprocal giving that creates fruit and future flowers. Your well-being is not separate from the well-being of the person next to you. When you act from generosity, you are not losing something, you are strengthening the network of care that ultimately supports you. The practice of dana, or generosity, is the first training in Buddhism for a reason. It is the practical exercise to break the habit of greed and the illusion of separation. I am not speaking only of giving money. The most powerful generosity is the gift of your presence, your patience, your skills, your encouragement. I knew a woman, a brilliant graphic designer, who felt burnt out and cynical. She started volunteering 1 hour a week to design simple, beautiful materials for a small, struggling community garden. There was no pay, no prestige. But she reported that this 1 hour became the most meaningful part of her week. "I'm not designing to sell something or make a client happy," she said. "I'm designing to help something beautiful grow. It feels like my work is a gift to the earth itself." That act of generous service restored her connection to her own creativity and to a community. It filled a void that her paid work, focused on scarcity and competition, could not. The garden flourished, and so did her spirit. Generosity isn't something you do after you become abundant, it is the practice that reveals the abundance that was already there. Now, we must bring all of this, mindfulness, compassion, interconnectedness, into the realm that consumes so much of our waking life. Our digital existence. Our devices are not evil. They are tools of incredible potential. But they are also, in their current design, engines of distraction and fragmentation. They pull us out of our bodies, out of the present moment, and into a curated, comparative, and often fear-based narrative. The constant ping is the modern-day bell of craving. It says, "Look here. Something is happening without you. You might be missing out." The practice here is not to throw away your phone, but to develop a relationship with it. To use it with intention, rather than being used by it. This requires creating boundaries that feel like acts of self-respect. Can you have the first hour of your day without screens? Can you designate meal times as device-free zones? Can you turn off all non-essential notifications? This isn't about deprivation, it's about reclaiming your most precious resource, your attention. More deeply, it's about bringing mindfulness to your usage. Before you unlock your phone, take one breath and ask, what is my intention? Is it to connect, to learn, to work? Or is it to avoid a feeling of boredom or anxiety? Notice the physical posture of scrolling, the hunched shoulders, the held breath, the vacant stare. Can you scroll with a straight back and soft eyes? Can you notice the impulse to check, and pause for 3 breaths before acting on it? In that pause, you reclaim your agency. You are no longer a stimulus response machine, you are a human being choosing how to engage with a tool. Your digital life becomes part of your practice, not an escape from it. I worked with a group of tech entrepreneurs who were honest about the addictive nature of their own products. We developed a practice called the conscious scroll. For 5 minutes, they would scroll through their feeds not for content, but to observe their own reactions. Notice, I said, what arises. Envy. Inspiration. Boredom. Anxiety. Don't judge it. Just note it, envy, envy. Anxiety, anxiety. This meta-awareness was revelatory for them. One founder said, I saw that my product was essentially a slot machine for emotional states. I was designing hooks for craving, and I was hooked myself. This insight didn't make him quit his job, but it fundamentally changed his design philosophy. He started advocating for features that promoted intentional use and well-being. He began to see his work through the lens of the Hippocratic Oath, first, do no harm. This is the integration we need, bringing ethical, compassionate awareness into the very heart of the technology that shapes our minds. Let's speak now of a force that can feel like the ultimate contradiction to a spiritual path, ambition. We often mistakenly believe that to pursue peace, we must abandon drive. That to be spiritual is to be passive, to want nothing. This is a profound error that can make the path seem irrelevant to those living in the world with goals, careers, and dreams. The Buddha was not passive. His quest for enlightenment was the most profound ambition imaginable. He just redirected that relentless energy from an external object to an internal discovery. The problem is not ambition itself. The problem is clinging to the fruits of ambition. It is the fusion of your sense of worth with the outcome. You can work tirelessly to build a business, to create art, to master a skill. But can you do it with an open hand? Can you pour your heart into the work while holding the result lightly? This is the path of right effort, diligent, joyful engagement without being shackled by craving for a specific reward or paralyzed by fear of a specific failure. I witnessed this in a young athlete training for the Olympics. Her entire identity was fused with making the team. Her training was agony, a grim march of self-punishment. She was injured, anxious, and miserable. I asked her, "Can you love the swim itself? Not the medal, not the time on the clock, but the feeling of the water against your skin, the power in your muscles, the rhythm of your breath. Can you make your practice a daily meditation in movement?" Skeptical, she tried. She began to focus on sensation, not statistics. She learned to listen to her body with kindness, to rest when needed, to push with discernment, not brutality. Her times initially fluctuated, but something shifted. The dread left her training. She began to smile again. She didn't always win her races, but she swam with a fluid, present grace that was new. When the final trials came, she was calm. She made the team not because she wanted it more desperately, but because her effort had become clean, uncluttered by the noise of craving. She had learned to be ambitious for the excellence of the moment, not for the trophy at the end. This is the secret: align your ambition with the present moment reality of your work. Your goal becomes the quality of your attention, not the distant prize. A CEO can practice this by being fully present in a strategic meeting, listening deeply, thinking clearly, free from the gnawing anxiety about next quarter's stock price. The clarity that arises from that presence will produce better strategy than any frantic grasping ever could. The artist can practice it by becoming lost in the stroke of the brush, the shape of the clay, the flow of the words, rather than obsessing over gallery reception or sales. The work that emerges from that state of flow carries a truth that resonates. Your ambition becomes a focused flame that illuminates your work, not a wildfire that burns down your peace. This balanced effort requires us to master another pair of seeming opposites: patience and urgency. We often lack patience with ourselves, demanding instant transformation, while lacking any urgency about the preciousness of our fleeting time. The Buddhist path corrects both. It cultivates the patience of a farmer. You plant the seeds of practice, mindfulness, compassion, ethical action, and you tend to them daily. You don't dig up the seeds every day to see if they've grown. You trust the process. You have patience because you understand the law of cause and effect: consistent, gentle effort bears fruit in its own time. Yet, alongside this patience is the urgent recognition of impermanence. The Pali word is anicca. Everything that arises will pass. This body, these relationships, these circumstances, all are in flux. This is not morbid, it is the most motivating truth there is. Knowing the glass is already breaking makes every sip of water sacred. Knowing this conversation is unique and fleeting makes you listen more deeply. Knowing your vitality is temporary makes you use your energy with purpose today, not in some vague tomorrow. This urgency isn't anxiety, it's a vibrant, clear-eyed appreciation that cuts through procrastination and pettiness. It asks, if not now, when? If not this moment of presence, then what are you waiting for? I learned this from watching the seasons at the monastery with an old gardener. He moved with a slow, deliberate patience, yet he never wasted a moment of daylight. One autumn, I was hurrying to finish a task before a storm. I was rushing, making a mess. He stopped me, put his hand on my arm, and pointed to a maple tree, a riot of fiery red against the gray sky. "Look," he said. "That tree isn't rushing. It is letting go, brilliantly, completely, in its own time. But it is also not missing its one chance to be this exact, shocking red. It has the patience of the earth and the urgency of the frost. Be like the tree." In that moment, I understood. Patience is the deep trust in the process. Urgency is the full-blooded participation in the current step of that process. Together, they create a life of grounded, passionate engagement. All of this inner work, the mindfulness, the compassion, the right effort, serves to prepare us for life's inevitable endings and losses. We live in a culture that hides from death, that treats it as a medical failure or a terrifying void. This refusal to acknowledge our finitude is a primary source of our anxiety. We live as if we have forever, which makes us waste our days, and we fear the end, which makes us unable to fully live. Buddhism invites us to do the opposite, to keep the reality of death close, as our most wise and compassionate advisor. There are contemplative practices to reflect on the certainty of death, the uncertainty of the time of death, and the fact that only our mental and spiritual development can help us at the time of death. This is not macabre. It is the ultimate life hack. When you sincerely hold the fact that your time here is limited and unknown, your priorities snap into crystal clarity. The petty grievances lose their power. The courage to love openly becomes obvious. The need to forgive dissolves. The beauty of the ordinary world, the taste of an apple, the sound of rain, the warmth of a hand, becomes staggeringly poignant and enough. A man came to me dying of a terminal illness, filled with rage and fear. We didn't talk about an afterlife. We talked about his breath. We practiced feeling the fear in his body and breathing into it. We practiced metta for his own pained, frightened body. Over time, his anger gave way to a deep, quiet sadness, and then, at moments, to a profound tenderness. In his final weeks, he told me, "It's the strangest thing. I'm dying, and I've never felt more alive. The light on the wall, my daughter's voice, it's all so vivid. I'm not ready to go, but I'm finally here." He had used the urgency of his death to arrive fully in his life. His dying became his final, deepest teaching to those around him about presence and love. By making friends with the idea of his end, he redeemed his middle. This is the promise, a heart that is not afraid to be broken because it knows it is already open. A mind that can meet uncertainty not with panic, but with curious attention. A life lived not in the shadow of an end, but illuminated by its clarifying light. This is not a withdrawal from the world, it is the most profound and courageous way to inhabit it. Let us explore a territory that often causes confusion on this path. The relationship between the absolute and the relative. Between the timeless, boundless awareness we touch in deep meditation, and the messy, beautiful, heartbreaking world of laundry and deadlines and loved ones. It's easy to mistake the goal as residing only in the absolute, to seek a permanent escape from the relative world into a state of unbroken peace. But that is not the Buddha's middle way. The ultimate aim is to bring the wisdom of the absolute. The understanding of emptiness, impermanence, interconnectedness, into the very heart of the relative. To live in the world with a mind that is not of the world. After my first long retreat, I experienced a profound taste of this spacious, silent awareness. For days, the world seemed luminous, weightless. Sounds were clear, thoughts were distant clouds. I felt I had arrived. Then I had to go into the city. The noise was a physical assault. The pace felt insane. In a crowded shop, someone shoved past me, and a hot spike of anger flashed through my body. My first thought was, oh no. I've lost it. The peace is gone. I failed. I felt a crushing disappointment. I reported this to my teacher, expecting a lesson on how to regain that pristine state. He laughed warmly. Good, he said. Now the real practice begins. The peace of the mountain is easy. The peace of the marketplace, that is the Buddha's peace. Can you meet that flash of anger not as a failure, but as your teacher? Can you bring the vast sky you knew on the mountain into the cramped, noisy shop? He was pointing me to non-duality. Not choosing the absolute over the relative, but seeing them as two sides of the same reality. The sky is not separate from the weather, it is the space that allows the weather to be. Your true nature is not separate from your anger, it is the aware space in which the anger arises and passes. Your spiritual life is not measured by how few negative emotions you have. It is measured by your relationship to them when they inevitably arise. Can you be jealous with awareness? Can you be afraid with compassion for the fear? This is integration. This is freedom. The goal is not to become a perfectly smooth stone at the bottom of a river. The goal is to be the river itself, fluid, responsive, sometimes turbulent, sometimes still, but always moving, always alive, always aware. This integration allows us to truly understand the Bodhisattva ideal, the being who vows to postpone their own final liberation until all beings are free. This isn't a martyr complex. It is the logical outcome of seeing interconnectedness. When you realize there is no separate you to be saved, your compassion expands naturally to include the whole. Your own awakening is seen as inseparable from the awakening of all. Your daily practice then becomes an offering. You sit in meditation not just to calm your own mind, but to calm a node in the nervous system of the world. You practice patience in a queue not just for your peace, but to add a droplet of patience to the collective consciousness. Your work becomes a form of service, your art a form of truth-telling, your simple presence a gift. I saw this embodied not by a monk, but by a nurse in a hospice where I sometimes visited. Her name was Clara. Her work was relentless, physically and emotionally draining. Yet she moved with a palpable, quiet radiance. She wasn't spiritual in any overt way. One day, I asked her how she managed. She said, "When I wash a patient, I try to wash them as if I were washing the Buddha. When I give an injection, I try to do it with the same care I'd want for my own mother. It's not always easy. Some days I'm tired and grumpy. But I just come back to the hands, to the task. This person in front of me is dying. This might be the last human touch they feel. That's my focus. Clara was a bodhisattva. She had seamlessly woven the absolute, the reverence for the sacred life before her, into the relative, messy act of cleaning sheets and managing pain. She was not waiting for a better realm, she was creating a realm of dignity and care, one task at a time. This brings us to a practical tool for daily integration, the practice of pausing. The world is designed for continuous reaction. The pause is the space where choice is born, where the wisdom of the absolute can inform the action in the relative. You can cultivate this deliberately. Set reminders on your phone, not to check email, but to pause. Let the ringtone be a bell of mindfulness. When it chimes, stop. Feel your feet on the ground. Take one conscious breath. Look at the sky, or a plant, or your own hands. For 3 seconds, be here. This tiny reset is a revolution. It severs the chain of automaticity. It whispers to you, you are not just the doer. You are the being who is aware of the doing. More powerfully, learn to pause before you speak in a heated moment. Insert one breath between your partner's comment and your retort. Between your child's provocation and your yell. In that breath, you are the sky. The weather of emotion is raging, but you have remembered your vastness. From that vastness, a different response may arise. Or perhaps just silence, which is often the wisest response of all. This pause is where you stop being a prisoner of your personality and start being a conscious participant in your life. Finally, we must talk about joy. Spiritual paths can become somber, focused only on suffering and its end. But the Buddha's path is one of unbinding, and what is revealed when the knots of craving and aversion loosen is a natural, uncontrived joy. It is not the excitement of getting what you want. It is the joy of being free from the need to get it. It is the joy of the body simply breathing. The joy of a task fully absorbed in. The joy of a moment shared without projection. This is mudita, sympathetic joy. It is the delight in others' happiness, the celebration of beauty for its own sake, the simple gladness to be alive and aware. Cultivate this. It is a practice. At the end of the day, reflect. What was one moment of pure, unadulterated joy? Not pleasure, but joy. The sun on your face during a walk. The solving of a small problem. The taste of cool water. Savor it. Let it land. In that savoring, you are training your mind to recognize and dwell in the goodness that is already present, not as a goal to achieve, but as a ground of being to rest in. This joyful appreciation is the fuel for the entire journey. It turns the path from a grim trek into a curious, sometimes even playful, adventure of discovery. Remember, the Buddha's last words were not a somber warning, but an exhortation: strive on with diligence. Not with grim determination, but with the diligent, joyful care of a gardener tending a beloved plot. Your life is that plot. The weeds of suffering will grow. The weather of change will come. But you are learning the skills of the gardener: awareness, compassion, patience, and the deep, abiding joy of participating in the great, mysterious process of growth itself. We have traveled a long path together, from recognizing the whispers of discontent to discovering the sky-like nature of awareness, from wrestling with our personal histories to embracing our interconnectedness. We have spoken of integrating this understanding into ambition, into our digital lives, and into our inevitable endings. Now, we arrive at the most practical question of all: where do you begin? How do you move from being inspired by these ideas to living them, day by day, in the midst of your existing, complicated, beautiful life? The answer is deceptively simple: you begin exactly where you are. You begin with what is in front of you. This moment, and the quality of attention you bring to it, is the only entry point that exists. You do not need to quit your job, move to a monastery, or become a different person. In fact, trying to become a spiritual person is just another statue to carve, another identity to cling to. The revolution is subtler, and far more profound. It is a shift in the direction of your attention. Instead of always pointing outward toward objects, achievements, and judgments, you learn, gradually, to point it inward toward the one who is looking. You become interested in the awareness itself, rather than only in the content of which it is aware. So, let us craft a simple, sustainable plan. Not a rigid regimen, but a gentle framework. Think of it as building a small, sturdy boat in which you can navigate the river of your life. First, establish a daily sitting practice. This is the keel of your boat. It provides stability. Start with a length of time so short you cannot fail. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Set a gentle timer. Sit in a chair with your back straight, not rigid. Feel the body settling. Begin with the intention: for these few minutes, I offer myself this space of kindness and attention. Then, simply feel the breath. When you get lost, and you will, hundreds of times, gently return. At the end, dedicate the merit, the positive energy. May this small practice contribute to peace in my own heart and in the world. Do this every day, preferably at the same time. The consistency is more important than the duration. This daily appointment with yourself is non-negotiable self-respect. Second, choose one daily activity as your mindfulness anchor. This is the sail of your boat, catching the wind of your daily life. It could be brushing your teeth, drinking your morning tea, taking a shower, or walking to your car. For the duration of that activity, your sole task is to be fully present with the sensations. Feel the bristles on your gums, the temperature of the water, the scent of the soap, the feeling of your feet on the ground. When your mind wanders to the day's plans, gently bring it back to the senses. This trains mindfulness in the flow of life. Third, practice one moment of deliberate pause before reacting. This is the rudder, allowing you to steer. Choose a common trigger. When the phone rings, when you're about to open a social media app, when someone says something that typically irritates you. In that moment, institute a rule: one conscious breath before you act. Breathe in, breathe out. Then proceed. This tiny space is where freedom grows. Fourth, cultivate a weekly reflection. One evening a week, perhaps Sunday, spend 10 minutes with a journal. Ask yourself 2 questions, without judgment. When did I feel most alive, most present this week? And when did I feel most contracted, most lost in reaction? Don't analyze or plan to fix. Just note. This builds the witness, the part of you that can observe your life with compassionate curiosity. Fifth, engage in one small, intentional act of generosity each week. This grounds the practice in interconnectedness. It could be a kind email, a donation, an offer to help, or simply holding the door for someone with full attention. Do it secretly if you can. Feel the intrinsic joy of the act itself, separate from any thanks or recognition. This is your beginning. 5 points. A daily sit, a mindful activity, a pause, a reflection, a generous act. This is the framework. Within it, everything you experience becomes part of the practice. Your anxiety during a work presentation becomes the object of meditation, feel it in the body, breathe with it. An argument with a loved one becomes a master class in pausing and deep listening. A moment of stunning beauty becomes a practice in pure, unself-conscious joy. Do not look for dramatic signs of progress. The changes are often quiet, visible only in hindsight. You may notice you took a criticism less personally. You may find yourself genuinely listening to a boring relative. You may feel a spontaneous welling of tenderness for a stranger on the bus. These are the real milestones. They signify that the teachings are moving from your intellect to your bones, from a philosophy to a lived reality. There will be days, weeks perhaps, where you fall off. You forget to sit. You react harshly. You feel consumed by old patterns. This is not failure. This is crucial data. It is the river showing you its current. Meet these moments with the same gentle curiosity. Ah, so this is what resistance feels like. This is what overwhelm feels like. And then, without drama, simply return to the next breath, the next mindful activity. The practice is not about maintaining a perfect state, it is about the unwavering commitment to return, again and again, with kindness. You are not alone in this. You are undertaking what millions have undertaken for millennia. You are part of a great, silent lineage of humans who have chosen to wake up. When you sit with the Buddha, with all the monks and nuns, with all the lay people across time who have turned their attention inward in search of peace. You are supported by the very fabric of a reality that leans toward awareness and love, because those are the forces that hold the universe together. So, as we come to a close, let me offer you a final image. Imagine you have been living in a house with all the windows shuttered, convinced the world outside is the dim, dusty room you inhabit. The practices of mindfulness and compassion are the gentle, persistent hands that begin to open those shutters. At first, just a crack, a sliver of blinding light, a shocking breath of fresh air. It can be disorienting. You may want to close them again. But if you keep opening them, wider and wider, a new reality is revealed. The world was never the dusty room. It was a vast, sun-drenched landscape all along, alive with color, movement, and sound. You were just living in the dark, telling yourself stories about the shadows on the wall. Your task is simply to open the shutters. This is the promise of the path the Buddha laid out. It is not a promise of eternal bliss, but of authentic freedom. The freedom to experience the full catastrophe and the full beauty of a human life without being destroyed by it. The freedom to love without clinging, to work without enslaving yourself, to lose without being annihilated, to die without regret. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But remember, in this journey, the step is not forward in space. It is inward, into the depth of this very moment. Take that step now. Feel the air on your skin. Hear the silence beneath the sounds. Know the awareness that reads these words. That is your temple. That is your Buddha nature. It has never been absent. You have just been too busy sculpting to notice. Thank you for walking this path with me today. May the peace and insight we have touched here ripple out into every corner of your life. If this sanctuary has been a refuge for you, consider supporting it by subscribing to the Monk's Moon Temple. This allows us to keep the doors open, the lights on, and these timeless teachings accessible for all who seek them, now and in the long term. Your presence is a vital part of this community. Go in peace. Go with kindness. And remember, no matter what arises, the sky is always there, vast and untroubled, behind the clouds of your experience. You are home.